Another thing that broke me when I was doing one of the activations with Heals for Pads is when I found out a lot of the street women, because we speak to the communities with Mina Foundation, and we go to rural communities of all sorts, whether it's teen moms, whether it's girls in schools, whether it's mothers in communities, prisons. And so one that broke me was the women in Kisumu. Apparently there's a bridge that they go, and the homeless women, and they go with their children, that they sleep under the bridge and stuff, and there's a dump site, and they go to that dump site to look for used pads so that they can use that when they're menstruating. Yes, and that I cried when I heard that at one of the activations. I broke into tears.
Hello. Welcome back to the Lioness Grotto podcast. My name is Anna Njoroge. In this podcast, we discuss all things health, beauty, fashion, entrepreneurship, life as you pursue your limitless self as a woman. After all, no one has to go through life alone. We've all had experiences we can share to motivate, encourage each other. In today's podcast, I am so thrilled to share something that is very, very close to my heart. And this is in the women's health. And when we speak women's health, we cannot forget menstruation. After all, if it wasn't happening, none of us would be here. And with me today, I have two beautiful, brilliant, and bold women. And I mean that in every sense of the word. And one of them is a founder of Mina Menstrual Cup. She'll tell us more about it. And the other one is Yvonne, a woman I have come to admire. Gorgeous businesswoman, artist, creative. She's like everything. It's the true definition of being limitless. And the reason I have them here is because period poverty is something really close to my heart. I say a woman needs to embrace everything that she is. She's powerful, she's beautiful, she's feminine, she's strong, excellence. She's limitless. She can be anything she wants to be. But if we are telling a young girl, 14, 15, 16 years old, that cannot even afford menstrual products, something that is biology, she has no control over it. But we're telling her she is beautiful and she can be anything she wants to be, but she cannot access a basic like menstrual products. That's a disservice. And she won't believe us. So that's why that cause is so dear. Because in order for her to go be limitless, we have to raise her and uplift her so she can reach the next level. So I'll have Zaakira introduce herself, tell us who she is, this amazing, phenomenal powerhouse. Zaakira?
Thank you so much, Anna. It's so lovely to be here. So my name is Zaakira. I'm one of the co-founders of the Mina Foundation. Mina means me in isiZulu. So we go around schools teaching young boys and girls about menstruation, destigmatizing all the taboos, but also, as you mentioned, girls not being able to afford sanitary products. They're not going to school. They're ending up pregnant. They having transactional sex with. I know here in Kenya it's with the boda drivers. So it's a global problem, and so we go around educating boys and girls on periods, but also making it natural and normal. But we're also providing a sustainable, eco-friendly, healthy solution that's comfortable, and we're just making periods fun, natural, and normal, and reminding men and boys that, as you mentioned, that they also wouldn't have been here if someone didn't get a period.
Exactly.
So this is why it's everybody's responsibility.
Yvonne?
Hi, My name is Yvonne Dark. I am a singer, performing artist, businesswoman, mother, and just a realist. I work with Mina Foundation because it's close to my heart. We are, of course, as Zaakira's slogan is, on a mission, vengeance, to end period poverty. And amongst being a businesswoman, I'm a philanthropist, I'm a humanitarian, so it falls perfectly with the Mina Foundation, the girl child, but also the boy child, because for us, when we look at period poverty, there is a role for both male and female to play, a role for both boy and girl to play, and there's the understanding that it's not about feminism, it's not about masculinity, it's not about any of that. It's about teamwork, togetherness, because we all have a role to play. We all have to be there to support each other. So, yes.
Zaakira, who is Mina? And I say who because, you say she is a woman.
Yes.
Who is Mina?
So Mina is because Mina is a menstrual cup, and many women don't know about a menstrual cup. It was invented in 1932, but you don't know about it because when you buy one menstrual cup, you will not buy another sanitary product for the next 5 to 10 years. But also the fact that the menstrual cup is something people don't know about, so when they hear about it, they become very intimidated. And our target market was teenage girls, so we created Mina. Mina is a menstrual cup, but she's also a personality. She's someone you can count on. She's smart and confident. She wants to stay in school. She wants to come back and give back to her community. She wants to educate the world, boys and girls, about periods and why it's natural and normal. And basically, she's just, for her, period poverty is a human rights issue. So she just wants to make sure girls stay in school, and we introduce her to teenage girls as a friend you can count on. And also when we started producing Mina, because we manufacture them ourselves in South Africa, we have our own factory there. If you look at the other menstrual cups around, they're all very big and very hard or tough. So it was intimidating for me to try out a cup before I created Mina, and I was afraid of it. So if I'm afraid of it and I'm a grown woman, imagine the teenage girls, that's our target market. So we created Mina to be softer and more flexible. So basically she has a personality, and she's on a mission with us to end period poverty.
So Mina is a menstrual cup that can be used in place of all the other menstrual products we know about. I do love the cup. Yes. However, I actually didn't learn about the cup until probably the last few years. I would say probably a year before I met you. Because we all grew up in Africa, Yvonne in a lot of places in Africa and part of Europe. And I don't remember growing up in Kenya ever having a period or menstrual conversation
Ever.
With anyone. Ever. So I was lucky, at least I knew what to expect because my parents were educators. So at least I did know the basics. Well, but I've heard women who actually got their period and it was the mother started crying because it's like something that is taboo and it's not allowed to happen. Yvonne, did you ever have this conversation with anyone?
No, I actually didn't. Even just to think back when you were saying that, I'm thinking back with my cousins and remembering when I first received my period and thought I was dying.
Yep, like, oh my God, yes.
And we were camping, and I remember I've never had this conversation with my cousins ever, and just up until today, we've never spoken about it except now when I come in with my ferociousness and I'm like, hey, by the way, how are you guys doing? Mentally, physically, emotionally, because our menstruation is part of our hormones and our hormonal imbalances, and most of the time part of our decisions in life when are made during our hormones are not considered part of our menstruation and our whole cycle. So there's a lot that has to do with the woman and neglected by the period stigma.
Yes.
And the socialization around it. Because for me, how I ran into Mina because I'm a motivational speaker, I was on a tour with Heels for Pads, going to different schools and just motivationally speaking to the girls about self-power, self-love, self-appreciation, and teamwork with your peers in school, and killing out competition and that competitive negativity that is based on women in general, because we are raised with negativity towards one another. We are raised to know the woman is your competitor. We are raised to know you must hate your
The other
next
woman.
whether it is your sister, whether it is your auntie, whether it's your what do you call it? It could also be your mother, whether it's your cousin, anyone that seems competitive with you in any diverseness. You must be negatively ferocious towards
down,
them. You must put them
rise.
down. Exactly.
Yeah.
And step on every woman's neck. No teamwork. Be teams and friends with men, no problem. Any day. But not women. And even with men, be careful. Watch where you're stepping. So we've been raised with so much negativity. And so when I ran into Mina, funny what you said, never thought about a cup before. I had seen my first cup, as Zaakira had mentioned, hard. I saw curiously my first cup online, and I said, let me order it. This is interesting. What on earth is this thing? And they say it's a menstrual cup. And what does it look like in real life from what I'm seeing online? And of course, it was made in China. And so I received it, and once I got it in the mail a month later, I'm like, what is this very hard silicone thing? But I was interested, read it, didn't know how to put it on. So I was trying to work with the little directions, unlike Mina that has everything
really
there.
everything, yeah.
So I was trying to pay attention. I'm like, hey, what is this thing? So I tried to put it on, felt a bit uncomfortable the first time. Then the second time it worked perfectly. And then now when I went into my third cycle, it was complete confusion. And we didn't have Google at the time to Google anything like we do today. And so once I got the hang of it, got my niece onto it, because I'm like, do you know you can go swimming wearing this? And me, who has very heavy flow, I can't do any sports. Never could
During
when I
that
was
time,
I was on all the sports teams. That was my area. So anytime I had to be pulled out, it was like, what's going on? And then you deal with the stigma of the team, the coaches, the school, everybody's down your neck, like you're making us fail. And you can't do anything if you're a heavy flower. My friend, it goes left, right, everywhere. It's like that day, and then the school shorts are white. You're like, there's no way.
Yeah, and then even just the embarrassment and the shame around it, especially if you end up soiling yourself.
And I was the type where you would just see the pattern on the leg. And like it would just be like, hello.
The kids are making fun of you. It's horrifying.
So when I saw the cup, I was like, I would love to bring this in. But at the time, NGOs were trying to bring it in. And there was the whole thing around, it's just not accepted in the country yet, legally. So I was like, maybe one day. And my hopes and my heart just sank. Because I was like, this thing is triumphant. I'm going to change the period community in Africa. This is our answer. And then I was like, okay. So when I ran into Zaakira's Mina Cup, when I was doing one of my motivational speaking tours, my friend Angela is the one who said, hey, I want to send something your way. Tell me if you've ever seen it before, if you've ever used it. Do you know about a period cup? I'm like, yes, I know what it is. I actually have a very hard sample somewhere in the house that I would go back and forth once in a while. But my hopes had died down. I'm like, let me just deal with the reality of our situation as it is in Africa. Our pads are horrible, but it is what is there. So when she sent it to me and I saw the manual description, I was intrigued. And then she's like, YouTube, Google these days. So I went on and my mind just blew. And then the moment I touched the product, I was like, hold on, let me go into my archives and remove this other one that I have there. And so I was sitting there.
It is.
I was sitting there comparing both textures. I'm like, this thing is heavy, it's hard, silicone, and it truly compared to the Mina Cup that is so flexible. You can't bend. That one doesn't bend. It like doesn't even go halfway, And then the Mina Cup is very light. So I was like intrigued. And then so I said, let me try it.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, my experience will come after.
We'll share that experience. I think we all have one that is pretty awesome.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah, and what Yvonne is saying about the discomfort, the shame. Also at school, now everyone knows you're on your period.
Yeah.
Everyone knows, yes.
And then you have to walk around hiding the pad or walking for those who wear tampons, like it's easier to slip it and no one will know. But,
Or if it falls, you're horrified. Like it
yes.
just happens to fall.
But also when she explains, because she had Mina to compare to another cup.
Yes.
So all of those things that she mentioned, the softness, the flexibility, the size, the instructions, I thought about all of those things for the very same reasons. Because when I saw a cup the first time, those were the same thoughts through my mind. And I'm like, if we give a menstrual cup to a girl in school, they're scared. Automatically, you're scared. Anything that you insert, your mind tells you is painful.
Yes.
Right? So, and you were talking of teenage girls. Some of them are not sexually active, so they're afraid. And so I put myself in those shoes. And that's why when we even do the outreach work, we give them a cup to hold in their hands. And then we say to them, so what does it feel like? And the first thing they say is, oh, it's so soft. That's already breaking a barrier in your mind that, you know what, maybe this thing can work. Maybe it's not painful, because it's a mindset.
Yeah, it
You're
is.
changing a mindset.
And it's not any time you have to insert anything anywhere in your body.
Yes.
You're already like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Zaakira, I know you grew up in South Africa. We've had this conversation before. Did you guys ever talk about periods?
So, in South Africa, we so many, like most countries, so many cultures. So each culture has their own way of dealing with periods, and most of the cultures don't really talk about it. But me personally, I grew up in a Muslim home. When it was time for me, when my mom realized, okay, one of these days I'm gonna get my period, she sat me down, told me what to expect. I don't remember it so clearly because you're not paying attention.
No, you actually don't want to have that conversation with your mother.
You're not ready for that.
No.
And then she brought a pack of pads and she said, this is what you will use. So for me, when it did come, which I think was around 13, I knew about it and I knew what to do. And of course, you let your mom know that, you've got your period. But in my home, it was not taboo. My dad, it was like, oh, wow, now be careful what you do,
Now you're a woman.
Yeah, now you're a woman, yes.
But the thing is, what does it mean? We even in South Africa, we're not telling our kids what it means when you have a period. Like a lot of parents, like when I speak to young girls now, they'll say to me, when I got my period, my mom said, if I touch a boy, I'll get pregnant.
Or if you even talk to a boy, sometimes you'll get pregnant.
Yeah.
We're just caring.
Yeah. Because your parents are scared. So they tell you that to scare you. And then you come home traumatized because by mistake you just touched
A boy.
Jack.
And they're like, I'm
pregnant.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's not. It is a taboo subject. There's also a lot of other taboos, like you can't cook when you're on your period.
Yeah.
You
can't pray.
You can't be seen.
In some cultures, right? Okay.
Yes. I know in Nepal, women are sent to a hut. They call it a menstrual hut.
Are you serious?
Yes. Look, so it's banned now. But
So you're not even in your own house?
Yes, you cannot be seen or touched. And if you have babies, they're with you in this hut. And most women die with their children because it's freezing in the mountains, okay? So even though it's banned in Nepal, because of cultures, it's still happening. So a lot of things are banned, like child marriages are banned, but it happens. Do you know what I mean? So I think the good news is that there's a lot of organizations now around the world on a mission to end period poverty, whether they're giving you sanitary towels that are bad for the planet or not. The problem is out. The challenge
They're
is
doing
out.
something. Yes. But I still feel like it's still not enough. So all of us, all three of us, I don't think we can say we had challenges in accessing any period product. And I actually never thought about it until I moved back to Kenya from the US. And it was even when I was in mentorship of young girls in the village and primary schools and secondary schools. And my whole thing is, get tutors, let's get books, let's do this. And the teachers were like, sometimes it's as basic as menstruation.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yes.
So Zaakira, how did that come to your attention? So you decided to commit your whole life, basically, and make this your life. Leave everything you were doing and make it your mission to end period poverty.
So, if you grew up in my home and met my parents, so my dad passed away when I was at school in matric, but my parents were doing, you know, when my schoolmates were at the zoo lake on Sundays, we were at some hospital, mostly mental institutions, having we call it a braai, a barbecue with patients, because my parents told us these are sick people, so we're coming to visit them. So we were always doing some kind of social work, and it's instilled in us. Like my brother, when his kids were growing up outside his business, the homeless boys used to babysit them, you know. So sure, you have to be careful, but the thing is, at the end of the day, my parents are humanitarian.
Giving back.
Yes. There was no way, and I knew this growing up, that I knew there was no way I was not going to grow up and do something amazing with my life to keep my dad's legacy alive. I didn't know what that was, okay? And for me, it was always like I was going to adopt orphanages and upgrade them and make it sustainable and make sure there's enough food, you know, the usual stuff. And I happened to be in a business class. A Goldman Sachs was doing a 10,000 women program.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was one of them in South Africa. And the group, I was in the last cohort because a friend of mine, she's so busy, but she begged me, you have to be in this course. You have to be in this course. And I was like, I don't have time to go back to school, you know. She says, no, you have to. And I ended up there in the last cohort. And it was a Sunday. We were doing an assignment. And it was June, July. Women's Month was coming up. And what happens in South Africa during Women's Month, there's a lot of women's events. We really honor, well, femicide is big, but we honor Women's Month, okay? And try to celebrate the achievements of women. And it's a big deal back home. So 9th of August is a national holiday. But a lot of women during that time start raising funds because it came to our attention a few years ago that girls are not going to schools because of periods.
Yeah.
So because also menstrual products are costly, you can't do this every month. So most women get together in August and they start raising funds to buy pads, mostly to give to a school in need. And as you both know, we don't only get our periods in August, you know.
Nope.
Yeah. And I was sitting in this group and a friend of mine said to me, I don't know why you're doing this. You know, you should give a menstrual cup. And I'm like, she's always talking. You know, she's just always outrageous. She's doing weird stuff. and you know, we don't do stuff like that. We African people. We
don't do outrageous. Yeah, you're just you're trying to be safe.
Yeah, she's coming from the Western world now and telling me.
She's coming with aggressiveness.
Yes.
And she's talking about a cup. And obviously, in your mind, you picture a cup. And you're thinking, you're not thinking of something like this.
You're not thinking of something like this that can just fold.
And you're thinking, But the one thing she said that day, she said it can last up to 10 years. So what I did was, I stopped everything instantly. While they were carrying on with the assignment, I started Googling menstrual cups. I discovered that it's invented in 1932. The same time tampons became commercialized.
Yet so many women don't even know about them.
There's so many YouTube videos. There's more positive stories than negative stories. And now something happened inside of me. You know, I'm a fixer. I like to fix problems.
Yeah.
I'm that person. You know, so I'm like, God, this is wow. So I stopped everything literally. I mean, I was running my own marketing business. I did not go to work for 6 months. I sat because I didn't want to be distracted. I was onto something, you know, like you're onto something.
Yeah, something.
So I sat in a coffee shop outside, across the road from my house. I sat there for 6 months. There were 2 men running it. They were also excited about this period cup. It didn't have a name. I said, I thought about it. I want my own one. I want to make it in South Africa. You know, I want to go to schools. And I knew that I will be facing challenges of virginity, number one.
Yes, that's a big one.
Right? And also the taboos that come around periods, because it's not something we talk about. And I said to myself, this is the answer though. This is the answer though. And all I need to do is I have to start having the conversations with the elders. So I started with my mom. She asked me the same questions any grandmother will ask, and it just became a conversation about common sense. Like what is a virgin and what is using a menstrual product? Are they doing the same things? Just common sense. What is a hymen? If I'm born without, then you discover, okay, some girls are born without hymens.
Without hymens, yeah.
So if I'm born without a hymen, am I not a virgin? So you start having those conversations with everyone, and they're like, oh my God, we never knew this. So I don't tell you what's a virgin and what's not a virgin. I just tell you what I know, and I ask you to make that decision. And you know what? I was pleasantly surprised in that in South Africa, there's a whole generation of parents that have died because of HIV. So there's a lot of child-headed households and a lot of grandmothers taking care of a lot of grandchildren. So they get a grant, and most of these girls or the grandchildren, there's more girls than boys.
Wow.
So you get, they call them blessers back home. So you get a 50-year-old man come and pick up your granddaughter on a Friday.
Yeah, they're called sponsors.
We call sponsors. Yes.
Take them.
Or what is it called? Something.
What are they
your
called?
Sugar daddy, mubaba.
Mubabas.
Yes, the mubabas.
And Granny sometimes encourages it, because when I tell her, no, the girls need to stay in school, they need to get an education, they need to come back and uplift this community, then they'll say, come inside the house. They open the fridge, they show you the lounge suite, the TV, they say, you see this? That guy does it.
Oh, wow.
So I realized that the challenges are more than
They're
we
bigger
thought.
than
Yeah, but
we
it's
think.
now a financial thing opposed to
Yes.
keeping a kid in
Yes.
school.
Yes.
It's the easy shortcut.
Yes.
I'm tired. I'm raising everybody. You're probably coming with your kids. I'm tired of you depositing everything here. Might as well bring money and make my life easier.
Yep.
Then you fall pregnant, he's on to the next girl.
He's on to the next one.
Or
So,
you-
yes.
and you don't know about the STIs out there, HIV and all those other STIs out there, So this is what we do. We decided, we have to teach the girls to take their power back. So we want to give them their confidence to say, listen, I don't need to do that. If I want a Louis Vuitton bag, I will buy it myself. I must be proud to do it. It doesn't mean, I'm a queen, I must be treated like queen, So we realized that since that conversation, 6 months, I did nothing. I went to the US, I went to the UK. I phoned everyone that made a menstrual cup. I went to visit whoever I could to see how can I bring this back home.
To Africa. Yeah.
And there were 2 companies in South Africa also doing it, but people were not talking about it. So I tried to partner with them. It didn't work out because I was really on a different mission. I was like, I'm doing this. I'm doing
Come
this.
rain, come sunshine.
Yes. I'm like, if I empower one girl a month, that's okay
That's
for me.
okay. Yep.
I said to God, I don't know how. You have to take care of my finances. My husband had to come in and take care of me because my mom, my sisters, my brothers-in-laws, my sisters-in-laws, my nieces, my nephews, everybody's mineralized.
Everyone.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Even, yeah.
I think everybody she touches or speaks to becomes mineralized.
Yes.
So I had my backup. If you know your people have got you, you can do anything you want to.
The importance
And
of
that's
community.
the thing. My dad, I was his eldest daughter. The thing I remember from him, he always said to me, girls can do anything boys can do. So when he passed away and my mom said, girls don't do that, I'm like, yeah, right.
They can.
And also my mom was old school. She was afraid for her daughters in this big bad world. You don't have a father. When you don't have a dad, people start to treat you differently. Even men in your family, for example, they see you as, okay, this is a project,
Oh, okay. We need to. She's a project. We need to
You know
take
what I
care
mean?
of her because there's no one to take care of.
Yeah, but
Or look out.
but-
They also see you as the cook and the other things.
No.
You're not you can't be a powerhouse. You're too fragile.
Not even that. You're now at risk of being treated differently
out there.
because now they want something else from you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Here we see how we went to.
Yeah,
I was there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where
When we
girls
went to
are
it's
raped by
wings-
the
when we went to the home.
Yeah.
In
Raped.
Kamulu.
we went for
It's the first time I actually
Wings
met
of-
you, Yvonne.
Wings of Hope.
Yeah, the
of
teenage
Hope.
girls.
Wings
Yeah.
of Hope.
where the girls are raped by their
Their own family relatives.
members.
Some of family members, yeah.
Fathers, uncles.
And they don't know, they don't have anywhere
Yeah.
to go because this is family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not even that. Your mother will just look at you and deny.
Yeah. So, the social ills are so much more, and because my dad told me I'm this queen,
Strong, powerful woman.
the thing is, I believed him. This is why I can do what I do. When you tell me I'm not,
Then
like,
I will
yes,
become
I am.
that.
I am.
I'm more when you tell me I'm not.
Yeah.
So, and then for me, I'm like, every girl I come across every child I come across is my child. When you have a conversation with anyone and they'll say, the questions I get when I go to schools are, can the cup prevent me from getting raped? And you cannot ask that question unless
It's happened to you, it's happening around you.
Yes.
And you know about it. Yes.
And then I'm thinking to myself, God, what can I do now? And I'm thinking, I'm going to my husband was laughing. We were having this conversation yesterday. I told him, the stem is going to have a
Pointy.
pointy.
We had that conversation. Yeah, we're
Yeah, I
like,
remember.
put it there.
So
Because when someone plans to rape you, they don't plan like it's a holiday hotel stay. They plan to come in and out.
Yep.
So most of the girls who have told us here, even when we went to Korogocho and asked us, and most of the conversations I've heard from girls who wear the cup say the stem as it is creates a blockage, whether depending on your
Really?
cervix.
You
where,
mean some of them have already had
yes, people have attempted, but you
experiences.
see, the thing is, I've had girls tell me as their testimonies of after wearing the cup that once they've worn, they wear the cup even when they're not on their periods because it creates a blockage. And depending on your cervix, whether the stem will stay long or you'll cut it because of the length of your cervix, it still blocks the entrance. So when someone comes and they find something is there, it's not they planned a hotel stay. They'll come in, find something, then take
and they'll
off.
leave. Yeah.
And they'll get hurt in the process because it's something there is blocking. It's not like they're going to now try. They'll be like, hey, what is that? And gone.
yeah,
So
Zaakira,
if
the
Zaakira
pointy-
makes it pointy,
Let's make
and
it pointy.
And I want the electric
Yes.
current in there.
yes. But then now what we're going to have to do is create cups depending on the cervix so that they're all pointy.
They're all pointy.
Yes.
Because now, so now this conversation we're having yesterday, and then the men on the table are saying, this is a conversation that's another project, that's another product. And I am saying, you know why you're saying that? Because we're not talking about your child.
Yes.
If it was your child, you'd think
It would
part
be a
of
whole
your
different
product.
story.
You understand?
Yeah.
So I was onto something. There was no way. I had to do this thing. And, I was sitting in this coffee shop, and the person who owned it was never there because he was, a big CEO of some big company in South Africa. And these guys said to me, you have to meet this guy. He's the partner here. And, just for a conversation, they were so inspired, So anyway, he was always traveling. So he was never in the country. And then one night at 10 o'clock at night, they called me and they said, listen, he's here. You have to come. So I go down. I said, but I'm in my pajamas. It's 10 a.m. They said, just get here. You will never see him again. Just come and have a conversation with him. We told him about you and your project. He wants to meet you. So anyway, I go there and I explain my project. He asks me all these questions that finance CEOs will ask you. I had all the answers. Let me tell you, I thought about everything. My plan was job creation. My plan was proudly African. My plan was uplifting girls. My plan was uplifting boys and helping them change the way they think about how to treat women. Because if we don't start with the boys, nothing will change. Yeah. You can empower the girls as much as you want to, but if you don't change the boy child's thinking, nothing will change.
Nothing will change. We have to change basically the thinking of all of us. Yes.
And we're all doing this because the thing is, you're going to get your period whether you grew up in Buckingham Palace or under a tree in a village.
Yep. You're going to get it every month.
Yes. You don't get permission. You just get it.
You can't stop it.
It's part of you.
Yes. So how do we make it easier? How do we make it okay to have a period? And since, we discovered this menstrual cup, this guy said to me, okay, he was a 5-minute meeting turned into a 1 hour. He was so blown away. Then he said to me, look, what I can do is I can introduce you to some people. Everybody tells you stuff. They'll give you business cards. Call me if you need anything.
And then they will never answer the phone.
So
yeah.
I'm that person. Thank you. But I'm not expecting anything from you.
Yeah.
But I'll call you. If you say no, you say no.
If you say yes, then
great,
we move forward. Mhm.
But he kept his word. I was struggling with something one day. I gave him I was struggling. I was even afraid to call him because he's this big shot, You don't want to disturb him. And then it was 7 p.m. one night, and I said, you know what, he's my only hope. I needed an SMS number because what I did was I created a video on the problem and the solution. And I think I sent it to you guys.
That video.
So because I said, okay, if I send this short video to my friends who, you don't have a budget. So I said, okay, I'll send it to Anna. Anna will send it to Yvonne. Yvonne will send it to, people will see it and say, oh, what is a menstrual cup? I didn't know about this. So that's how I started. So for Women's Month that was coming, I was going to start sending these videos out to all the women I know and ask them to please share it. And I needed an SMS line, and Vodacom took forever to come back to me. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. So the opposition, I called him that night, and I wasn't expecting him to even answer the call. And he was like, I said to him, this is my problem. He said, oh, I don't know anyone there, but I know these people. Let me see what I can do. That was it. And I left it. The next morning when I'm driving to a meeting, I get a call from the opposition, MTN, and they say, we hear you need an SMS line. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is God's project. I'm working for God now, So I have to be very sure of how I do this. And he introduced me to a foundation, and he told me, that's all I'm going to do. And then it's up to you. So I had a meeting with this foundation, and the lady said to me, when will your cups be ready? Without knowing how it's November. I said to her, oh yeah, I'm working on it. It should be ready in January.
You hadn't even started. You've done all the research. You have all the facts.
Yeah. And I know I must get a mold and all of that.
Right.
You know? And I also want to make it locally. So how am I going to do this? And after that meeting, I started doing a lot of homework. Which factory can I go? I found the whole country. In fact, and then finally I found someone. I went to speak to them. I told them my plan. They told me it's November. We can't make a mold. Companies are closing now. I said, no, you have to help me. You have to make a plan. I need a prototype. And there it was. January, I had my first prototype.
You had your prototype.
I took it to them. They were so happy with it because it was smaller than other cups. They were doing menstrual cups already.
Oh.
But the girls there was a 20% usage rate, which for me was excellent, especially in rural areas, because even, there's so many benefits to the cup, which we can talk about later. But when I took the cup to them, they said, okay, give us some time. We're going to test it out in the rural areas. We'll come back to you. And 3 months later, when they came, I had a name. I had a journal, a puberty journal for boys and girls. I had the packaging. I had all of this.
So by the time they were coming back, you had all that
flyers.
done.
I had a story. I said to them, Mina is not a menstrual cup. Mina is a friend you can count on. This is how we're introducing Mina to the girls because they're going to be scared, So we had a whole thing on how we're going to do this. It had to be bright and fun and happy. And 3 months later, when I went to get the feedback from her, she gave me a pile of papers. And, I cried that day because, first of all, I didn't sleep the night before because now the proof is in the pudding. I used my cup. I used my prototype. It worked for me. It worked for my friends, but
will it work for the young girls? Yeah.
And that day, I got an order for 10,000 cups.
Wow.
Yeah. And now we are 7 years old. We're turning 7 this year. And we have done over 100,000 cups. We are in Kenya, we are in Malawi, we are in Zimbabwe, we are in Yemen, we are in South Africa, of course. We have an online store in Qatar. So people are starting to hear about Mina.
And be open and hearing about it. Yes.
Because when we launched, we didn't launch the product. When I launched Mina, I waited a year and I launched 10,000 stories.
Yes, there was 10,000 stories because every girl that
had
got that cup, that's a story.
Yes. And even the girls that came to speak at our launch, I chose 2 girls. one from Mpumalanga, rural area, and one from KZN. And they came to tell their story. One lived with her grandmother. One was a child-headed household. And they were telling us how Mina changed their lives. And what I realized that when we leave schools or even universities, or even myself as an example, it has nothing to do with periods. We are teaching girls how to start believing in themselves and how to start having the confidence that they never had before and start fighting for themselves and start having a voice to speak up for themselves as well as a voice to speak up for those who cannot speak.
So, yeah, and you're right. It's not just about menstruation. For me, the reason I started doing it, and before I met you to get into the cups, was basically I was buying pads.
Yeah.
Because I realized one of the biggest ways, especially in Africa, to get out of poverty, or what gives you the best chance, is education.
Yeah.
And we all know that.
Yes.
You know, some people may not think it's, yes, does it end everything and make you amazing, but it gives you the best option. But if this girl is missing school about at least a week a month, she's going to fall too behind.
She loses her hope and her
Exactly.
purpose.
And she's actually not going to believe in herself.
Yeah.
Because my whole thing is about women empowerment. And if the girl is broken, she's not going to become an empowered woman.
At all.
You have to start early. So that for me was where, okay, what can we do?
Yes.
So I learned a lot of them don't have the product. So I started buying pads, but I was doing it by myself and bringing in a few friends to where we would do it. And it was not a sustainable solution.
Absolutely.
Because if I pick 50 girls or 20 girls, I have to buy this product or the pads every single month.
Yeah.
I can't expand that.
Yes.
I can't grow it. I can't reach more girls. And for you, Yvonne, when did I have seen you and how passionately you out there in the outreaches for Mina? When did you actually come to find out that this was a problem for girls?
For me, I think similar story as Zaakira. I was raised in a humanitarian home. And growing up, for example, being born in the war in South Sudan, and then growing up with my father always in the line of fire, never knowing if he's going to come home or if that's the last time I'm going to see him. And seeing how passionate my parents were being driven in the line of humanitarian work, because my mom was dealing in pharmacy and medicine, and my dad similar to that, but more in a stronger voice in the NGOs and stuff within the war, and managing a lot of stuff. Growing up watching the videos of the actual war, which I was not supposed to watch, but every time my dad was away, I was there putting in the tapes and watching the horror of the reality of the war and what I was born into and what actually exists in the world, from the genocide point and the starvation point. I always knew I was destined to follow in my father's footsteps, but I didn't know how. And performing from the age of 2, musically, from baby language and stuff, I always knew I was going to be a star. I just didn't know where, how, and when. And I didn't know how I was going to bring all of this in together. But I knew God's purpose, God's will. I will work against all the odds, especially being raised in Africa, being born in Kenya, raised in Kenya, being here from the age of 6 months, being part Kenyan, and growing up as a strong, independent powerhouse of a woman. Seeing all of this around and seeing all the challenges of being a woman, being headstrong, being an alpha, which doesn't sit properly with people's stomachs, especially the male dominating side and the old school mentality. Growing up against everyone telling you can't. Growing up with my own problems physically in the menstrual world, and seeing how much the difference of quality in pads, number one, that there was within the pads in Kenya, the pads in Africa, and then the pads abroad.
Abroad, yeah.
Then, same with the tampons. Then also seeing those that don't have, those that wear, because now due to the humanitarian line of growing up, I was exposed.
You were exposed to it
to
very
all
early
of this
on.
very early.
Yeah.
To the problems of
That
humanity.
don't have, yes.
So whether it's food, whether it's
whatever
period,
it may
sanitary,
be.
whether it's
Health, yeah.
whatever it is, being exposed to that, I knew that period poverty was one of the problems. That's a problem. One
Yes.
of the
Problems. Yes.
That as it is a problem. So when I received my periods for the first time, convinced I was dying. Because I was a tomboy, and we learned it in school, but then also growing up mainly with my father alone, being raised by my dad, and being the oldest, and we're two girls, having that experience, and then my father open and celebrating, and I'm like, what are you celebrating? And you're a woman, and I'm like, no, I'm dying. This is doomsday. What are you talking about? And finding out while you're camping, and just very uncomfortable. And then having my aunt step in to teach me how to wear the pads that have wings and wingless, and I'm like, what is all of this? And being brought tampons, and I'm like, what is that? That's inserted? No.
Where is that going?
And being 11 years old when all of that is happening, and the world is just, I feel like there's too many things hitting you at one, because I feel like girls get hit with so many things at a young age, way more than boys, depending, no matter what happens, depending on your background, no matter how you've grown up. But then seeing that now with the rural communities and within the humanitarian fields, and then being exposed to some of the workshops my father would go to, and sneaking, trying to enter the conference, and hearing how they would talk, and how they would talk about humanitarian problems and stuff, and not understanding at the time, but growing older and paying attention to, oh my God, I wasn't supposed to be in that meeting. I heard things I wasn't supposed to. But then this is what they're talking about. It's like what we're watching with the war right now, and the countries saying yes, no, supporting or not, unfortunately with Israel and Palestine, but just seeing how other people had the choices, and then understanding that we don't have the choice of our menstruation, yet it comes to us without choice. But we don't have the power or the choice or control over it. Exactly. So being exposed to that and understanding that line, like you said, pads are not sustainable. Finding out the toxicity. And for me, I have a deeper understanding of it with what I went through, which we'll discuss later.
Yes.
Coming into that line and that light, that's when I realized we're being played. And for me, being part humanitarian, I look for long-term solutions. I can't deal with short-term solutions because it's repetitive. I'm not making a solution. I'm just delaying it. Yeah. So when I first discovered the cup, I was like, this is a long-term solution. Then when I fell onto Mina, I was like, God, I hear you. I always tell you where it took 7 years for you to throw me in this direction, but I knew one day you would bring it back round. And when I got that sign, I was like, this is the time. And then now I started becoming like Zaakira. I'm like, oh my God, I'm obsessed. I need to now make sense of this. I'm not letting this go. I need to make it happen. I need to make it work. So in that time, my friend Angela's like, I need you to meet Zaakira. I believe you're the perfect person to work with them. You will take it as your own child because I know how you are and I know this is for you. And so when the cup came in, you'll understand later when I tell my story why. Then I was like, this is a long-term solution. As you said, it's not sustainable with pads. How many times are you going to do it? And what's the consequences of pads in the long term, apart from being consistently used and you having to consistently purchase next month? You have 20 girls, you can't go to 50 girls because it's costly. And then you have to deal with the dollar and how the world and the economy is changing and all the madness that's happening with the inflations. And then from those 20 girls, you might go to 2.
Yeah, you might even go to 2, actually, as things get more expensive.
You've devoted yourself to helping them for their lifeline. So you calculate a pad a month. Sometimes you have 2 periods in a month, depending on how your cycle is, depending on how your window is as well. Yeah. There are people who bleed every 21 days, others every 15 days, others after 3 months, after others once a year, depending on your cycle. Yeah. How many are you going to have to provide? For how many years? How much money does that cost? Realistically, you're doing this voluntarily. So how is it not going to also affect your personal life?
And that
how are you going to keep this girl's life afloat? Because now you're her dependency on her dream coming true because you're keeping her in school. So what about the other 13 that you had to drop because of the economy?
Or the economy, or the ones that are around you and wanting and reaching out, but you can't help.
Worse matter is the 13 you had to drop because they experienced the freedom.
Something different.
The hope. Yeah. They experienced I'm going to be my dream.
And I broke my promise.
And it's not your fault.
No.
But I think also that we handing out these sanitary towels, but we don't know what they're made out of.
And what it's affecting their
And
bodies.
we don't know how it's affecting our health, how it's affecting the environment. For example, a sanitary towel has plastic in there. It has bleach in there that we put in the most sensitive area of our body.
Sandwood.
The thing that shocked me was, because we are all right now about sustainability, environmental preservation, climate change. It's affecting all of us.
And health.
Whether we accept it or not,
yeah.
we see it just even in weather patterns.
Yeah.
When you told me how long it takes a pad to actually dissolve, I was in shock. Like, can you tell, like, can we talk about that? Like how, and even, what is the other thing? The tampons.
Yes.
And also we can talk about why Mina is so much more environmentally friendly and actually sustainability and our oceans and our food, everything we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously, when I was doing my research, these are the things I found out. I was very thorough. I discovered that most of your pads out there have plastic in them. It's made out of rayon, which is synthetic cotton, sort of. So to make it look synthetic, aesthetically pleasing, it needs to go through lots of chemical processes to look white. So it's bleached. So you're putting bleach in your most sensitive area of your body for 40 or 50 years of your life.
With your pores open.
Why will you not get infections? Why will you have no risk of cancers? Allergies. And if you speak to the girls, they'll tell you themselves, oh no, I got a rash. I don't use this brand or that brand. This brand is better than that brand. But it takes 500 to 800 years for a sanitary towel to biodegrade. They're ending up in landfills. There's no more landfills in the world for these sanitary towels.
Yeah, we don't have landfills
it's like your baby's nappies.
Yeah.
Okay? So Mina is a friend of the planet. She's made out of medical grade silicone, which means she's healthy to use. She has no chemical. She has no bleach. So when you're removing it, like if you use a tampon, because it's also bleached, when you're removing it, it dries out your vaginal canal, number one. Number two, the fibers can get stuck inside your canal.
And go up.
Yes, and end up being little cysts later on in life. And when you go do a biopsy, then, because you have severe pain and you go to the doctor and now you think, oh my God, I don't know.
Whatever we may be thinking, your brain is going.
Yeah.
You know where our brains go.
Yeah. And then when it comes back from the lab, it's just fibers from your tampons, for example.
Imagine that.
But it's a risk. It can cause cancers, So 500 to 800 years and half the world menstruates. So more than 4 billion women menstruate monthly. And if we're all using pads, where are they going to end up? I usually say to the girl, so what we do is when we go to schools, we show them a video on the planet, the impact on the planet, your plastic in the ocean. So you're throwing your sanitary products in the ocean, and it's ingested by fish in the sea.
I've actually stopped eating fish. I'm no longer eating fish. Like, no.
I mean, there's so much we didn't know, so I find, like, for me, like, the other things, you have to define what is period poverty.
Yes.
Period poverty is not just the lack of access to sanitary products. It's lack of access to safe toilets at schools and sanitation, water, education around menstruation and how to be treated or
mental
what this
health.
means. All
Mental
of that.
health, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not just lack of access of a menstrual product. There's so much more that defines what period poverty is. We've just specified period poverty because there's poverty and then there's period poverty, which is, people don't know this.
But even the period poverty, like you just said, it's not the period like lack of, it's even the impact of the lack that just kept perpetuating poverty in general.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lack of your rights.
Yes.
Lack of being a human, period. As a woman. Lack of being a woman, because the lack of your mindset when you're bleeding in a positive space destroys you in general. As it is, your hormone imbalances, you're in 3 different energy flows when you're about to get your periods, when you're on your periods, and after that.
I watched this reel the other day, says, this girl, she was hilarious. And she was like, people keep saying women are crazy. It's like they're different people every time. Yeah, I am different people every week because my hormones
Are all over
have
the place.
changed.
I say, my kids would ask me, Mom, this week you're happy. What happened last week? I'm like, I died and I came back.
And then I came back.
Yeah, because I literally have to shut myself off them. Before I got the cup, I would literally have to shut myself off everybody because, one, the pain was excruciating and I didn't want anyone seeing me in that state. It would mentally destroy me. And 2, my hormones were so imbalanced. I was like a ping pong. And I'm like, that's not who I know I am.
You're
I'm not going
nice,
to, yes, and because I know who I am and I love who I am, I'm not going to let that destroy me. So I'll just cut myself off, take a
and not actually
vacation.
destroy you, because when you're ping-ponging in that hormone, it's not just you, it's everyone around you.
That's what I was saying.
So it's affecting your relationships also, and the way you interact with those closest to you.
Hence destroying you, because everyone can move on.
Yeah.
What do you do with yourself?
And also, if they don't know what you're going through, you snap at someone just,
And even though they know you're on your period, they don't understand. That's why when Zaakira said it's very important for the male to play their part.
Very, very
it's because
important.
you can't force a man to understand something he has never and will never understand. Or feel.
Or have, he doesn't know what you're going through.
And that's why for me on social media the other day, I was so disgusted when I understand and I support. I mean, it's not my place to talk when it comes to the LGBTQ, XYZ, whatever they want to call themselves, but to have a man or them or a she-male state they wanted to get surgery to be able to put a baby in them and just to feel what it's like to miscarry. It destroyed me emotionally. I'm like,
what?
Please, let's not play. Already you guys are saying you want to feel periods. You don't want to know what it's like to feel periods. Trust me. Because even a paper cut, a man feels like he's dying. Okay? Then you now...
I usually say if men had periods, the world would come to an end every...
Yes. It would. When they're put for the
the one
just
that
to
kind
feel
of...
what it's like to have a period and then to show what it's like to give birth, the pain, they're like, wow, and a woman has to go through that, even for days sometimes. But just to have for me, it's like now you're stepping on our toes. This is mockery. Because the fact you want to say you want to know what it feels like to have a miscarriage, it's like you're laughing about it. You don't know what it does mentally, because a period is more than just that. When you do have a miscarriage, you go through a period, and it's a mental thing as well.
Actually, a miscarriage is a loss.
Yeah, it is a loss.
It's a loss.
It is
a loss, and you grieve it. And some women never get over it.
Never. And even monthly, you do go through a loss.
Yes.
I tell people monthly through your period and your hormones, you go through a loss. That's why I would say I would shut myself off, because I don't need to lose more than I'm already going through, because I have to lose myself and rebuild myself every month. I lose myself for a week, I have to rebuild myself for 3 weeks, then to lose myself all over again, because I have to mentally balance my positive energy, because when I'm done with my period, I have to get back to being Yvonne. I have to get back to being the powerhouse that I am. I have to get back to being the mother that I am. I have to get back to my drive. Meaning I lost myself. Now I have to pick myself up again. Men don't know what that's like. They might go through it through midlife crisis once or a period of time, but they'll never truly understand what it's like to have it daily, every day, from teenagehood for the rest of your life. And even after that, there's menopause.
Even after that,
there's
menopause. We talked about that in this podcast,
yes,
and everything changing. And I am loving that these conversations are happening. So, Zaakira, so you find the cup. Yes. You sell your first 10,000. Now you have to do this outreach. And I know you started in South Africa. And you're going to the rural areas and the villages and schools, and you're trying to tell people, okay, I got a solution for you, and I need you to put this in your vagina. How does that go? How does that go over with other people?
So, like I said before, I made friends with the elders. So I got backup. You need support. So even when we went to schools, we spoke to the principal who told the parents why we're coming.
Okay.
And where we
So
could,
this would be communicated in
Yes,
advance. Okay.
Yes. And we'll even get consent forms signed, so that they know, listen, this is what we're coming to talk about. We're going to address virginity. We're going to address STIs. We're going to talk about periods, all of these things. And they were just so grateful, but also the way we introduced it to the girls was in such a fun way. Like our facilitators are very active. They'll come in singing songs, the latest singer, Beyonce, whoever, the latest music out there. Who can sing for us? So you break down barriers and then you start this conversation. And we start by being natural and normal and like, listen, we're going to talk about something today. We're going to talk about having periods. Who knows? We don't pinpoint. Does anyone want to share an experience?
No.
What happened? Yeah. So we don't say, okay, Anna, are you on your period? Tell us, what was your experience? We don't do that. So we give the girls an opportunity to start having that conversation. They're shy in the beginning, but then they start realizing, I feel safe here. I can ask no teachers allowed in the class, no parents allowed in the class, because we have a separate session with them. Because they will not ask questions.
And a lot of them will even shy away from asking questions or even speaking. Yeah.
So now when they realize, okay, this is a safe space, because we tell them this is a safe space. So sometimes we have men who talk about periods also. They come and explain. They're like amazing, right? But even for us to have the men in the room, we say to them, the men is out of the room, and we say to the girls, listen, we're going to be talking about periods. Do you mind if Elijah joins us? He's also very passionate and he wants to help.
Mm-hmm. And he is.
If he's cute, they say yes. Or he's a photographer. Do you mind? Yeah, you know what I mean. Others, no. We went to Tanzania last week. Mm-hmm. We went to Zanzibar University, and the dean came in. He was very accommodating. He was so excited that we came there. And then he said, okay, come, let's go. And then he introduced me to the girls, and I see, oh, he's taking a seat. Right? And I'm thinking, And this is a more conservative community than...
Oh, definitely. More than,
So he's taking a seat, and then I ask him, like, so will you be joining us? And he says, yeah, I'm going to be here. Because he's excited, So I said to him, okay, can I have a word with you outside for a minute? And he said, sure. He goes outside. I close the door. I say to the girls, quickly, listen, because they don't know why we're there. I say, we're going to be talking about periods now. We're going to be talking about menstruation. Do you want him in here?
They all said no.
They all said no. A big no.
No, big no. Yeah.
So I went outside and I said, I'm sorry, but the girls are going to feel very uncomfortable for you to be there. So do you mind just letting us? And I think he was disappointed.
Was he a little offended, or not offended, but disappointed?
Disappointed. Excited to find out what it's like.
Because
to hear their perspective.
Also because there was a solution here for him. He knows the problems at the university, So for him, he was like, wow, this is the answer. I'm going to learn so much more, And he was disappointed for sure. But he came back inside and he said to them, listen, I'm on your side. I support you. Enjoy the session. I'll talk to you later.
I like that. So that's a good dean.
Yeah.
He understands.
Yeah, understood,
the people he was dealing with, and they wouldn't have been open if that's what you were talking about.
Because in the Western world they would, but
they
not
would,
here.
but not in Africa.
No, because we still have a lot of taboos
we are
to break down.
barely even to each other as friends talking. Like, I was in boarding school, and now looking back, I was like, wait, I was in boarding school for 4 years. You're having your period the whole 3 months you're in school. I don't remember, unless somebody soiled their skirt, ever seeing anyone or us having the discussion, which is a time we're all in the same boat. We're sharing.
The only time
the
you hear is
experience.
only if someone says, do you have an extra pad?
Yes, that's the only time you would know. And at that point, you're just hiding it.
Yeah,
but
like,
it's a girls' school. We are all girls. We are all going through this. So what has been the biggest challenge in the outreach and in the education of not one just use of the cup, but also I know you go holistically. It's about sexual health for the girls. It's about confidence. It's about overall health. It's about hygiene.
Yes.
What has been your biggest challenge that you've had to overcome?
I think for me, it's the lack of education and awareness around something like a menstrual cup, and also the fact the virginity issue was a big thing.
Yes.
Yeah. But for me, when I started this project, I knew all of that. So for me, I said to myself, okay, girl, are you ready to take this on? Because you're not going to be making a lot of friends. And that's why, my mom is a warrior woman. She's amazing. She's incredible. She is so strong. If I tell you all the stuff she's overcome, and I think about all the stuff I've overcome, I think to myself, I'm nothing compared to her.
To what she has overcome.
And listen to me, guys. I am nothing without her. I am zero. I am zero. I know my friends got my back, my husband's got my back, but my mother, if she met you in the street, she'd take a Mina cup out of her bag.
And
She's in hospital for a checkup. When I go visit her,
she takes a Mina cup
the
out.
nurses are like, are you the daughter that's you know what I'm saying? And one woman actually called me. She said, do you know what your mom does for you? I'm like, yeah, I know. My mother doesn't make me sleep because she tells everybody about Mina.
About the
you know what I mean? And if she tells Anna about it, I have to get back to Anna. I have to. Because, she went out there because she trusts Mina that much that she came to tell you.
It's her baby as well, yeah.
It is her baby as well, yeah.
So I am because of her. I am because of her. And, it's and I know life has not been kind to her. But she's so strong. She loves God so much. We all survive because we believe in a God that's good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We have faith, and he's using us as instruments to change the world, even if it's one step at a time, even if it's one cup at a time.
One cup at a time, one girl at a time.
And creating more women warriors out there, So this is when I leave a room. Also, periods become natural and normal and fun to have now.
Yeah.
Now you look forward to who looks forward to getting a period?
No.
I do now, but never used to.
You know what I mean? And I was always confident because of my dad telling, even my mom's brothers, I was raised by men mostly, telling me I'm amazing, I'm incredible. Like I remember my uncle, most of them have passed. In fact, one of them passed while I was in Kenya.
Yeah,
Do you remember?
when you were actually launching with Linton's.
Yes. So, like my one uncle kept telling me when I was 3 or 4 years old, because I grew up around them, and said to me, Zaakira, when you grow up, it was his dream to go to the Taj Mahal. And it's like, you're going to go to the Taj Mahal. Aren't you going to go to the Taj Mahal? I'm like, yes. I'm 3 years old. My other uncle says to me, you have to start your own business. You're going to start your own business. Aren't you going to start your own business? Yes. And as I grew up, these are the things I'm remembering as a young
positive
woman.
affirmations,
Yes.
from a young age.
I can start a business. That's how I started my business.
I can be whoever I need to be.
One of the first places I went to was the Taj Mahal. My uncle is also late now. They all passed away young. But I went there because he told me I can go. I visualized the stuff they told me. My dad said, you can be anything you want to be. He didn't buy us Barbie dolls. My sisters were telling me the other day, because they don't know him the way I knew him. I was his eldest child, so I spent most time with him. They were babies when he passed away. They were kids. They were 10 and 11. And they said to me, they remember one day my dad came home and he bought the girls. I have brothers too, but he bought the girls trucks. So just because you're girls doesn't mean you
can't
have a truck. Mean you can't drive a truck.
Or you can't be a plumber, or you can't be,
You can't, and that I love, because I say the men also need to be part of this conversation.
And funny enough, when you say the men, a lot of people look at the older men and say the generational older men in the African community were more harsh, were more closed off. But I don't think so.
I think I was gonna bring it to I'm the same way, like Zaakira. And Zaakira, we've talked about this. To raise a strong woman, and not a strong woman who is trying to compete with a man, because we shouldn't be competing with the same energy, because we are very, very different. We're feminine. One thing I usually say, my father raised me, same thing. The world doesn't owe me anything. However, I can be anything I can do anything I want to be.
Yeah.
And the one thing I also never did, because he validated me as his daughter, which means it validated me as a woman. I have never needed to be validated by another man. He already did that.
Yeah.
So in order to raise a woman properly, yes, our mothers, I talk about mine all the time, the influences there. But I think the men also need to step up.
Giving you that assurance.
Yes.
But isn't it amazing that all three of us are talking about the influence of our fathers
Yes.
on us as daughters? Because, you know, like your mom will tell you something. She'll tell you the same thing.
But it won't hit like your father.
Not like your dad, no.
Because as Zaakira's always told me, it is a man's world.
It is a man's world.
It always will be.
And
But
I
it
have
doesn't
never,
stop the woman's influence, because a man is nothing without a woman.
Yeah.
A man needs the lioness,
The lioness.
that is his pusher. Because yes, the man is the forefront, but what's the support?
Yeah.
The support is everything.
It's everything.
And what's lacking in today's world is both roles.
Yes.
Everybody's trying to be the other.
The other.
And that's where the problem is in our society. We're busy punching each other, busy letting the other down instead of taking our roles, because we're not competing with anyone. And as you said, none of us were raised to be masculine.
Yes.
No.
Or to be masculine energied, or to step on the man's role. No, we were just all taught to be independent women. And being an independent woman means you'll attract the man that is worth your value, which is a man who will understand your value, your purpose, but also know his role, that you need a protector.
You need a protector. You're
Yes.
independent.
Yes.
And also,
yeah.
and also, I think we also have partners.
Yeah.
The men in our lives, they push us forward. They want to see you rise,
They want to see you rise. They're not
Yes.
trying to
Not-
bring you
yes.
down.
Yes.
Yes.
They're not narcissists.
and that also makes a big difference on why we do the work that we do. Because, like I say, I always say backup. You got your army of people. Like I know I can call you anytime if I'm stuck here, or you got my back.
Yep.
I don't even have to think about it. I know for sure. If I'm stranded in Kenya, I have some people.
You have people
You
to
do.
call and they'll
And
show
guess
up.
know what I
what?
mean?
We're women.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whoever's watching, we're women.
We're all women.
We're women who are supporting each other, not stepping on each other's necks, which generations have been raised to do. So we're talking about so many different, very powerful
Yeah.
things.
And now that you're saying we're women, I was going to mention this earlier. Angela didn't have to introduce
At
you to
all.
me.
At all.
No, she didn't
She
actually.
did not. And Zaakira didn't have to introduce me to you, even if you were there.
No, she didn't. Because
At
yeah,
all.
we were at the same outreach.
Yes.
It was actually Angela's event.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You see, so the thing is, we're all here supporting and uplifting each other, because we were also raised with the mindset of, we don't know what jealousy is. We were not raised to be jealous. We were raised to, am I getting to my goal?
We all have a different path.
A different purpose.
And our path is our greatness.
Yes.
If I try to follow your path,
You'll
Yvonne, I
fail.
will fail.
Yeah.
Big time, because
Completely.
you can try and copy me, but you won't be
still,
able.
I'm not the original.
You'll copy me, but you will not be able to copy what is in my mind for my next project.
And what the passion is, even
Yeah.
we're bringing that forth with the power and the greatness and the success,
Yes.
because that was yours.
Yes.
And that's what we need even as we go. And I know we teach these girls when we're out there. The one thing you're very good at, Zaakira, is you just don't give cups to be distributed. You have an outreach of people that you have trained that go out to make sure these girls are educated. It's not just, okay, here's a cup, put it in.
No.
Why do you do that?
Listen, if the cup is sitting on the shelf, it helps no one. Okay, and you're already traumatized by hearing about inserting something like a cup inside your body. Okay, and I could have distributed 1 million cups today, but if I don't know how it gets into the child's hand or into a woman's hand, or like the woman in prison even, what's been happening in the world is that, for example, if I give you an example of one of the stories from South Africa, when government sometimes have budgets and give out free sanitary towels to a particular school, which is not sustainable, okay, but they give it to a bunch of male teachers. And then one of the stories that really made me even more strict on my policy of in your hands is one of the teenage girls said to a social worker who works with Mina that she came there with a bunch of pads and she expected them to be happy and grateful that she brought these pads there for her, and they just shunned her, and being, social workers always want to probe, and
They want to know why.
Yeah, and she won them over and started having conversation with them, and she said, "Why are you doing this? I came to help you. Why are you so rude to me?" They were rude to her. And one of the girls said, "You don't know what we have to do to get one of those."
Yeah.
Are you serious?
I
Even
wouldn't be
though it's a
shocked.
government outreach, they're, wow.
And you can think of a lot of stuff when you hear something like that.
Yes, a lot.
One of them said, "We have to drop our pants to show that we're on our periods because we're going to sell it." That's one of the things.
And there was something that happened recently. We can't shine away from it at the Browns factory of the same thing.
Yes.
If you have to show you on your period.
You have to show you on your period.
And why is this place dirty or something? Like, it's there's
you
a lot
threw
of
your
taboo.
pad in
Yeah.
the wrong bin. Who did it? Drop your pants so I can see who. You're taking away the dignity and the respect of a menstruator when you're doing that.
Yeah.
So we give it to them in their hands.
You are breaking her
Yeah.
Instead of
Yeah.
building.
instead of building
And
her.
they'll say, "Anna is not here." The teacher will say, "Anna is not here. Please, can you give me her cup?" It's fine. We have it on the list. When Anna gets
yes.
here, you tell us.
You tell us, we'll bring
Because
the
the
cup.
other thing is they'll take it home.
Yeah.
Another thing that's done everywhere is, "I'm going to go feed the people at home. Who are you?
And
Thank
it-
you for bringing
and-
extra pieces for my family relatives at home before I give it to these strange random girls that I
and they will
teach."
sell it. And it's a real thing. I mean, I even say to my own team back home, when you go to the schools, give the teachers a cup.
Yes.
Okay? Ask them if they have any daughters. Because that's how it is. It's like you're giving it to them, but I also need it. And it's not a competition. But at the end of the day, the problem is real, the challenge is real. And this is how people think. These girls are benefiting. I'm their teacher, why am I not benefiting?
So let's just
Yeah.
and there's also another aspect you bring in
Yeah.
where it is the health education, the hygiene.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's also because no one's heard about the cup. Now, if I just give you this cup, it's just going to sit there.
They're not going to use it
Yes.
actually.
So
Yeah.
but we also want to have the conversation. We want to break the taboos. We want to show you the impact on the planet. The video that we show them on the impact of that, they literally burst into tears. And then I'll say to them, we'll ask them, okay, so you had a period. What you used the pad? What did you do with your pad? Where's your pad? It's
Just
gone.
throw it
It's gone away. So we said, okay, where's away?
Where did it go?
Yeah.
What does away look like?
Yeah.
Some will say, okay, we put it in newspaper. Some will say, no, we have to wash it, and then some will just flush it down the toilet. So the challenges you were talking about, the virginity issue, number one.
Yes.
The other one is lack of access to water in rural areas. So Mina doesn't need a lot of water to sterilize her. She needs half a cup of boiling water once a month. So even those rural areas, they do get water to, where they
Half a cup you can find
for
Yeah.
washing or for
Yeah, because they have to wash their
cooking.
pads
Yeah.
and for the reusable pads and stuff,
And
and
that's
which
the-
gives them
and that's a lot
infections.
of water.
Yeah.
Not only that, if it's not washed properly,
Because they don't have the
if
water,
the soap,
especially in
if the
rural
soap
areas.
remains
the
or
soap,
they're limited, they only
yeah.
have two,
Yeah.
and it doesn't dry out right, or it dries with soil or whatever, infection immediately.
Infection.
And they also don't
immediately.
want they want to hang it so you can
Yeah,
see.
exactly.
That's the other
Or
thing.
they actually don't. Yes, and even while they're in school, they've soiled one and they need to change it. Like, where do they? They don't want anyone to see.
yeah.
Where
Yeah.
do you put
Yes,
it?
Yes. And the benefits of Mina, for example, eco-friendly, sure, comfortable, but if I'm intimidated by it, I will not try it. So we put them at ease, and at the end of the session is who's going to try it, and we just want one person to say yes. But usually it's more than one person, and we have a WhatsApp line that's a support center. You can call us anytime. We will help you through it if you're struggling. The most common challenges are it doesn't work because it's leaking. So we say, you see, this is why we do the training.
Because so that you know how to insert it
We'll
properly.
tell you why it's leaking. It's leaking because you haven't inserted it properly. It hasn't popped open. Those two holes form a suction. If you use it correctly, you can do a cartwheel. You can swim. You can sleep with it. You know, you can keep it on for 6 to 8 hours, you know.
Others say it hurts, and you're like, have you measured your cervix?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
because
you say
you
it
have two
hurts.
sizes. You have the smaller one and the bigger
Not
one.
only that, if you can show you
Oh.
the stem, you
Oh,
see
this-
it has
this one
it has
here.
different lines.
Yes, the
and
three
you cut
okay.
it depending on your cervix. So if you have a low
Short, yeah.
a low cervix or a short cervix,
It's better to use
you can't. Not only do you use the small, but for me, I'm a heavy floor, so I use the big one. I cut it
You
off
just
to the
cut
last
it off
line,
at the last right here.
so that I don't feel the pain, because the pain comes in when the stem is pushing against your thighs, or you feel it like as if it's there on your underwear. So it's not really pain.
It's just
a
discomfort.
Or as Zaakira said, if you've not popped it up right, or you've pushed it too far up, you will hurt yourself and feel a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So the point is, you have to be taken through it. And that's the difference between other cup companies
And
or other
how she does it.
Yes, and how,
Yeah.
because all the information is within the leaflet that comes inside. There's a small booklet that comes with it.
Yeah.
And in that booklet, it has all the information and the website to go and the WhatsApp number to contact if you don't understand much. And that's the thing. For me, I leave everybody with a contact to speak to when I go to motivationally speak.
To somebody
So
they can
that
call and
someone can
speak
call,
to.
because you get excited. Then you forget the few little things. And also when you try it, it's a different experience.
Than when somebody else is doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the number one thing, as Zaakira said, is there's so many benefits that we will explain after that you get from it. But the point is feeling free and loving yourself and loving the cup and the relief it gives you in terms of privacy, in terms of a new identity. You feel like you have your new identity.
Yeah.
And again, understanding that it doesn't destroy your virginity. If you're a virgin, it's not going to expand your vaginal canal.
And that I
You're
wanted to
still
bring,
a
'cause-
virgin.
Zaakira, now that we've talked about this beautiful, amazing cup, can you tell us where anyone listening, where they can find it in all the countries that you operate in?
Okay, so in South Africa, you can get it at Clicks, or you could get it online on the Mina Cup website, which is minacup.org. In Kenya, you can get it Linton's Beauty. You can also get it at Yvonne online. In Malawi, it's mostly outreach work that we do there, so they're not available. So you could get it online on
The Mina website.
On Mina website.
Okay.
The same for Tanzania, and the same for Zimbabwe, and the same for Zambia and
Okay.
Mozambique as
So
well.
that's on the Mina Foundation website.
Yes.
Okay. And Yvonne, I know in Kenya we can get them from you. Where can we
Yes.
find you?
So you can find them on my Instagram, Yvonne Dark, at Yvonne Dark, which is YVONNEDARCQ. You can also find it as well as Yvonne Dark Music on Facebook. And you can easily email me at yvonnedark.com. For large orders, of course. If you want to personally just get your own piece, note that when you purchase one, you get one for free. So you can easily find the pay bill number on my Instagram. It will be on my bio. Same with my Facebook. And you can always DM me for any question.
So is this for Kenya only? Is this with you only, or also in Linton's, the buy one and get another one?
That is also in Linton's.
Okay.
Yes.
So in Kenya, if you buy one cup, you actually get another one for free.
Yeah.
So you can,
when we say for free, it means when you purchase one cup, one gets donated on that behalf.
on their behalf.
Yes.
Okay.
So on Mina's behalf, when you purchase one immediately gets put in the record for donation, for the donations that Mina does.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yes.
That's incredible.
So it says here, when you buy a Mina Cup, we gift one to a menstruator in need.
Yes.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's in
So
general.
basically, when you buy one for yourself, you're also helping a girl
Yes.
in need. So you're also
Yes.
contributing to ending period poverty.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And actually even a bigger impact on the
Yes.
planet.
Yes.
That's what it means.
That's
yes.
amazing. I love that. I didn't even know that part. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening and for watching. We will continue having these conversations. They're very, very important. After all, in 2024, we shouldn't be having conversations about menstruation. It's not a secret. Let's keep having them with the women around us and the men around us. After all, like Zaakira and Yvonne said, it should be a question like, do you want sugar or not? in your tea. This was an amazing conversation, one we need to continue. So thank you so much, and join us in part 2. Subscribe, and let's keep chatting. Thank you so much.